How about now?
Yeah, we can see your screen now.
Okay, perfect. So I'll start the session. Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to everyone who has joined. Today's session is about the art of possible with generative AI, unlocking productivity and strategic advantage with Perplexity AI. So this will be an interesting as we have some interesting use cases to cover. And our agenda for today's meeting is we'll first dive deep into the introduction to Perplexity. We'll see what this tool is, how this can be used, and how is it different from ChatGPT. Then we have a couple of use cases. As you could see, use cases one, which where we are going to cover up um, the basic UI UX of Perplexity, so everyone can get familiar with Perplexity is. I'm sure the some of you may have already used it, but then we are going to cover everything from basic to a bit more advanced level, just so everyone can get familiarized with Perplexity. Next up, we have a use case too about Perplexity tasks. More details again in the upcoming slides. And then third is about an end-to-end evaluation use case that we have. So followed by everything in a live demo session. And at last, we're going to discuss some limitations. We'll do the key takeaways, Q&A with all the attendees. So just a general disclaimer for everyone. This program is funded by the European Union and Enterprise Ireland under the EDIH program. All the trademarks, logo, brand names are property of their respective owners. And for any examples that we have used, any data that we have used in this webinar is all fiction, is all fictitious. So let's start with the introduction. What is actually Perplexity AI? So Perplexity AI, I would say think of it as an advanced AI powered search engine, but I think it's much more powerful than just a search tool. So this tool combines powerful large language models with real-time web search capabilities. Um, I'm sure most of the audience members may have used ChatGPT. It's a great tool in their lives. So this is pretty similar to that. So, and what Perplexity means is when we use this, every time we ask this question, uh, the key difference is it pulls the most current information from the web and delivers us concise referenced answers from trustworthy sources. What I personally love about Perplexity is that it's designed not just to give information, but to accelerate discovery and critical thinking as well. So it's built for those users who need fast, reliable answers backed by credible sources. So plus it has got a lot of great features, which we are going to see in the upcoming slides and in a demo session. So let's just see how is it different from ChatGPT. So as I've said, many of us are familiar with ChatGPT. So let's just see, how that actually compares to ChatGPT. So I think this comparison is very important because it helps us to understand when to use which tool. So first, let me start with what they have in common, ChatGPT and Perplexity. Both Perplexity and ChatGPT use these powerful large language models, and they both offer that conversational interface that we all appreciate, nice and sleek, and we all enjoy the conversation flow rather than a typical web search or scrolling through articles to look up information. So, unlike ChatGPT, same thing. We can ask questions naturally, and the tool would respond in a way that feels human. So fundamentally, they are both excellent AI assistants. But here's where they differentiate. And these differences matter a lot depending on what we want to accomplish. So, first difference is Perplexity emphasizes live web search and up to date results for every query. It's constantly pulling information from the web, from the internet, and ChatGPT, on the other hand, if we ask any question, relies more heavily on its pre-trained knowledge base. Now, I should mention everyone that the web search feature is also available in ChatGPT, but only with ChatGPT Plus and enterprise subscriptions. So the key difference is this web's pulling capability is not the default behavior of ChatGPT, unlike Perplexity. Second big difference is, and this is huge for everyone who is into research and making evidence-based decisions. Perplexity always cites its resources. So every answer, every time, if you click through that, there will be a link and you can go there and verify your information. So ChatGPT answers may or may not include references, depending on how we're using it. So I think this transparency is a game changer, especially when we need to validate our information or share findings with stakeholders. As we all know that whenever we use ChatGPT, it sometimes hallucinates and sometimes give false or incredible information. So this transparency factor is a big game changer when using Perplexity. And finally, here's, I think, something that's really interesting, which is Perplexity offers access to multiple large language models from different providers. So as a user, we are not logged into one ecosystem, and we can actually read the benefits of many LLMs. ChatGPT, by its design, only uses models by OpenAI because ChatGPT is a tool that was created by OpenAI, its parent company. So all the models are released by OpenAI. But Perplexity, on the other hand, you get more flexibility. You can choose multiple models, for example, Sonnet, for example, Llama, for example, ChatGPT's models, or Claude as well. So and that allows us to give us the freedom so that we can choose the model that best fits our specific use case. So to summarize, the key difference is, if we need current, most reliable, cited, verifiable information with model flexibility, Perplexity is the go-to choice. But if you're working on some creative tasks, brainstorming, or projects where real-time data isn't that critical, then ChatGPT is also fine. It's an excellent choice, in fact. So in a nutshell, they both are powerful tools. It's just about matching the tool to the task. So we have our first use case that we will cover up in our demo session. Let's take a moment to get familiar with Perplexity's interface. I know that on this slide there are quite a few components here, but we don't have to worry. We're going to cover everything into our demo session. So I'll slow down a bit so that everyone can read it and get a quick refresh of these features. So we have about 9 to 10 odd features that we all are going to cover up into our demo session. So you can see from search bar, file upload, library spaces. Um, and finally, just for everyone who's in the meeting, if you pay attention to the last feature that we have, which is the task section, um, this is where you can access your schedule alerts and automations and all the recurring research that's running in the background. We'll get much deeper into that in just a moment, as in my opinion, this is one of the most powerful features, and I will be covering that with a few use cases in a demo session. I know that's a lot of information, but the good news is we don't need to master everything right now. We'll cover everything into our demo session. So for now, I'll just pause for a couple of seconds so that everyone can familiarize themselves with these features, and then we will move on to the next slide. So I'll move on to our next use case, which is what I just spoke about, perplexity tasks. So let me introduce you to one of the most powerful features, perplexity tasks. And I use that very heavily in my day-to-day work. So this is where I think perplexity involves from being just a answer engine to becoming your AI partner. So let's see what task is exactly. An analogy I would use is, think of it as your personal automation assistant. This tasks feature allows us to schedule recurring alerts and automations on any topic or task we want to accomplish with a typical LLM. So we can set up notifications that trigger specific actions automatically. It could be, I could set up a price alert so that I can track specific products or reminders on topics of interest in my industry. But this is where I think this gets really interesting, which is the real power of task is automated work execution. The AI doesn't just notify us, it actually completes projects for us. And here's what makes the task feature very, very special, which is we set them up once and Perplexity automatically runs them at the preferred schedule. It could be daily, it could be weekly, it could be monthly, or even just once for time sensitive needs. And we receive regular updates via email or push notifications in our mobile app that the task result has been executed. And whatever the result is, it gets added to the thread, to the library, so that we can instantly access and seamlessly manage the information. So let me just break down into very simple flow how this works. So when you assign a task to Perplexity, it takes that complex work and breaks it down into manageable steps, just like if you would be doing or I would be doing some project planning. Then it goes on to work, automatically executes each step. And we're roughly talking about 5 to 30 minutes of self-supervised work, project work, depending on the complexity. A good example, if I share, is let's say, if I'm a startup and I'm launching a new product, uh, I could set up a task feature in Perplexity to monitor my competitors' product launches every week. And Perplexity, what it's going to do is it automatically researches new developments, compiles the findings with citations, analyzes what it means for my strategy, for my own business strategy, and will deliver a complete briefing into my inbox every Monday morning. So the time that I save, the time that I get back to, that I can use to focus on execution rather than just manual research work. So we have a couple of interesting use cases that we will see into our demo session. And then some more information about this Perplexity task feature is you could actually read if you want that these are the areas where this can be used, but not limited to. Competitive intelligence, which I just highlighted, that we can get automatic alerts on competitor news, product launches, or pricing. It can access web in real time, as we all know. Sometimes we don't need to actively use LLM. We might want to run it overnight or some specific time, but we need the information every morning. So this is where this gets handy. Reporting is another good use case, which we can use to schedule regular reports of performance, analytics, industry updates, delivered right into our inbox or library. Regulatory monitoring. So if you are into a business where there are regulatory changes every now and then, you could use Perplexity that can alert you in real time for compliance or policy changes that would affect your business. That is, like, I think, one of the most important use cases which a lot of people are actively using Perplexity for. Then at last, we have the third use cases, which is a very unique one. We use Perplexity AI to evaluate 6 vendors, a fictional company, ABC Fresh Foods, who has gotten some requests for proposals to find a new vendor. Then we are going to use Perplexity with a few connectors with Google Drive and our email. And what we realize is that some work that took probably weeks was done in a few minutes with a lot of accuracy and transparency. So what we have covered in this particular use case is there is a company, ABC Fresh Foods, and there are about 6 to 7 vendors who have sent their proposals. And then we dumped all the information into Perplexity to evaluate that based on our company's specific use case, based on our strategy, based on our requirements, um, quality standards, and so many other factors. So we'll dive deeper into that. But just to highlight what we have covered in this use case is automated request for proposal analysis, all the information that was extracted and compared vendor to vendor across multiple key benchmarks, market validation, whether a particular vendor has certifications or not, risk assessment, sustainability verification, data-driven ranking. Um, and then the interesting part is why it works. So first is it is fast. You don't need another person to do this, because if you employ another resource, that would take probably weeks, where the resource would scan all the documents, will understand the company needs. And then there's always a human error aspect or an unbiased or a bias aspect that could come into picture. So why this works is it is fast, it is objective, removes biases, provides audit-ready documentation, is comprehensive, takes all the factors into picture. It is scalable. This framework applies to other areas of your business as well. We have just covered a fresh food company that is looking for vendors. Again, a fictional example. But since this is scalable, you could apply that to your own use case. Maybe you're looking for a different vendor, or maybe you have another use case where you want to actually check a supplier or a provider or have multiple comparisons too. So you can use Perplexity for end-to-end evaluation. And then obviously the last benefit that we got is risk awareness. So Perplexity highlights hidden vulnerabilities that could have been missed by an actual resource who would be auditing these requests for proposals. So these are all the three use cases, and let's head on to the demo session. Um, the first thing that I would cover up is the basic user interface and user experience of Perplexity. So I'll stop sharing for a moment and reshare my screen. Joshua is my colleague. And just for the audience, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to post them into the chat, and Joshua will be answering them into the chat. I'll stop sharing and I will reshare my screen. Joshua, can you confirm if my screen is up?
We can't see your screen yet. We can only see you.
Okay, let me try it one more time. Is it visible now?
Yeah, we can see your screen now.
Okay, perfect.
Can you just zoom in it a bit so everyone can see
Yeah,
visibly?
yeah, sure. So for everyone, this is the uh, user interface of Perplexity. I'm sharing via a dual monitor, so I'll zoom it to the specific sections because the screen is so wide, so we might not be able to cover up everything in the screen. So on your left, you would see these sections, some settings, and similar to ChatGPT, we have the search bar where we could type in our query and then hit search. Now, you might see a few things differently for all those users who are familiar with ChatGPT. This might be a bit of surprise, but I'll cover that one by one, which is, let's say my query is ABC, and uh, this is the focus feature. I'll take this generally if I want, if I have any generic queries or, any general answers. Then up next, we have this research view, and we can toggle between any of these depending on the use case. As the name says, deep research on any topic. So I would probably, enter a very complex queries with a lot of instructions. Then I'll hit on this deep research, and it takes about 10 to 15 minutes, and then will notify me. Um, so this is a deep research mode. And the good thing is any topic that we want to do deep research on, it is useful for, anyone who's using this. Could be a student who's researching, for a project, or could be someone who's, thinking about a new startup idea, or an already entrepreneur who wants to do research on specific industry. Great feature for this. And the third feature that we have is labs. So this is about creating projects like Word documents, presentations, slides, dashboards, charts, graphs, and a lot more. We'll see that into our use case as well upcomingly. And next on this side, we have the source section. This is one of the things that I like about Perplexity is I could actually control the sources for my query. So as you can see, the web option has been ticked on, which means anything that I type would be cross-referenced to what's available on the internet in real time. But if I turn that feature off, it just won't do that. Second is you can see the academic papers. If I'm doing some research and I want some academic papers to be referenced along with citations, along with sources, I would tick this option on. Third is social. This is where, the likes of Facebook, Instagram, X, um, Reddit, Quora would come into picture. So all the discussions and opinions and forums, would also be factored in. This finance section is basically for SEC filings, mainly used for US markets. Then this is, again, we have an enterprise plan. That is why uh, for a generic user, you won't see all these options. For example, this organization files that is only available to enterprise users. Because this is available as an enterprise, because I'm using an enterprise plan, which is why I'm seeing this organization files. Then we have my files sections, and then you could see Gmail with calendar. If I want to access my Gmail calendar or my emails or my Google Drive, I would tick up these options. And then we have Jira as well, if I want to access Jira as well. And then up next, the feature that we can control is um, toggling between different AI large language models. So as I spoke earlier, that this is one of the key highlighted features of Perplexity is I could control what model I want to use for my query. So as you can see, if I take the best, that is like the default option, it'll automatically select the model based on the query. And we have choices of models: O3 Pro, Claude, Gemini, Claude Sonnet, GPT 5.1, etc., etc. Then this is similar to ChatGPT. We can attach local files, connect files, and then again, these two features, if you have used ChatGPT, these are pretty similar. If I want to use the speech to text feature, that is the dictation mode. And then if I remove the text and use this, this is the real-time conversational flow. So this is the basic user interface of the chat section. We have covered the chat section, the focus feature, the sources, toggling between models, files, etc. Now, another section that I want everyone to highlight is this. So, Joshua, can you confirm if this is about the right Zoom on the
Yeah,
left?
it's alright.
Okay. On the left, you would see home, discover, spaces, and finance. So we'll cover the spaces section. This is more like, a collaborative knowledge hub, uh, a category, a container where whatever I search, I could put that into these areas. So these are my private searches, as you can see: tasks, competitor analysis, data analysis. It could be, depending on the user, it could be investment, it could be health and fitness, diet, etc., etc. So you could actually put your search queries into these specific spaces, and then you could actually share your spaces as well. So very quickly, I will open up one of that here, and you can see these are some of the queries that were run into that space. So anything that I search here will automatically be added to this task section. And if I want to share, I'll click here, and then I could share my space so that I could collaborate with my team, or if I want to share my query results with someone. So all the good features that I think we typically see in ChatGPT as well now. And here you could see, you can add files, links, instructions, add tasks, etc., etc. So
Amrush, can you zoom in a bit?
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, this is the task section, and you can see some of the queries that were executed. Now, what you're seeing on your screen, these are all the automated queries that have been executed using the tasks feature. And then don't get confused, the name of the space is tasks. This is just a name, but the task feature is a different one. So these are all the automated queries that were executed. And because I just used the name task for this space, they were automatically added here. And then, and this section is the one, in case anyone has missed this, is the share section where I could share my space with anyone who wants to collaborate. So this is mainly it. And there's a specific finance section as well for all the stock market geeks who want to uh, get all the information related to stock market. Right now, there's US market is covered, India market is covered, crypto, screening. You could actually list down your criteria and it'll tell you stocks. So because this can actually access data in real time for these two markets, US market and Indian markets. You could see some of the examples over here. Just like that, you can actually have your own spaces. Just to show you a few of the templates, you could see a crypto coin explorer, Y Combinator startup advisor, a brainstorm buddy that you can use to research and brainstorm on ideas, profile builder, social post generator. Tons and tons of use cases are there. Tech, finance, sales and marketing, research, people and ops. Um, I think that these use cases are great and for everyone who wants to be productive. So I highly recommend everyone after the session to try all these features and do sign up on Perplexity. Uh, with free plan, you can do a lot of other things as well. So some of the templates that we can see is investor, email generator, etc., etc. So I'll zoom out a bit, and then we'll head on to the last section, which is the connectors and some of the other features that we can use to tweak our Perplexity. So you can see if I go to my account settings, and you can access this on the left side here. This will appear up. Just like a browser, you can also have an incognito mode. So none of the history would be recorded. Then you have the connectors, the notification, preferences, tasks, assistant, personalization. Let's go to personalization. And then the finance section that we just saw, there's a sports section as well. If we want, we can manage that as well according to our preferences. So I could actually, add stocks, etc., etc., and that will be into my specific section. Next is about the connectors. One of the good things about Perplexity is that uh, it provides a much more richer experience by integrating with a lot more tools that we use into our day-to-day lives. As you can see, I have connected a few, which is Gmail with Calendar. Second is Google Drive. Third is Jira. So what I will do is, because they were already connected, I'll disconnect them one by one. And then I'll delete files. And then for the demo, I'll just refresh the page. And then let's see how we can connect these resources. The good thing about Gmail with Calendar is, let's say if you are searching a query and then you want to instantly email that to someone or maybe to multiple participants, you could actually put that into your search box or instruction box, and then Perplexity will access your email and then it'll email to all the recipients. So if I enable this feature, you would see add connector, and then my email section would appear, and I just need to authorize and then agree with what it can access or what can it cannot. So it's that simple. Just like we sign up onto any other website and then use Google. It's pretty similar to that. Next, same for Google Drive. If I use Google Drive, click on Add Connector, and then same flow, and my Google Drive is connected. And then the third is Jira. If I connect my Jira to track projects, get more information, or maybe depending on my search query, I could actually prepare my Jira board according to this. So what I will do is I'll just add my Jira URL like this and click on next. And then again, a small window will open up, and I just need to accept what Perplexity is requesting access to, and that's it. You can see success. So these are some of the three connectors that we have configured. Gmail and Google Drive is what we will be covering up in the session for one of the use cases. The rest of that you can try. Some of them are available with the enterprise plan only. So this is about the features. You can see files, personalization, preferences. Into your profile, you could actually set up Perplexity to answer your questions into a specific tone. So you could tweak the model, the default model, the image generation model, and there are tons of other features as well. So now that we are all familiarized with the basic UI of Perplexity, let's cover up some of the use cases. To start with, the first use case that we will cover up is the task one. Let me bring that up pretty quickly, which is here. And then again, I'll stop sharing for a moment so that everyone can see what prompts I will be using. Joshua, can you confirm if you could see the Word document?
Yeah, we can see it now. If you can just zoom it in a bit.
Okay, perfect. So again, it's a pretty long Word document, so I'll not cover up everything, but just so everyone knows, in this use case, what we are going to cover up is I am a content writer. I work with maybe a news publication, and what I'm using Perplexity for is to simplify my day-to-day work. And this is a very generic example. So think of it not just for a content writer, but for your day-to-day life as well as to how you can use that. We are going to go to this website, government.ie search, where we could get all the information related to government news, policies, um, some changes, etc., etc. So we could see you are a professional business writer, use clear and simple language that non-experts can understand, because my job is to publish an article every week or daily about what changes have come up in the government or the parliament. So these are the exact structure. I have an article title, suggest me up to 3 titles. So you can see that the instructions are pretty clear. So one of the recommendations of using not just Perplexity, but for ChatGPT as well is uh, be clear with everything. So we can see we have a pretty detailed prompt, style, and tone requirements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy everything, and then I am going to share my screen one more time. Uh, Seems like Joshua, can you confirm if my screen is visible?
No, it hasn't come up yet.
Yeah, it seems like Zoom is hanged somehow. Can you see that now?
No, it just says you've started sharing your screen, but it
Okay,
hasn't come up yet.
I tried connecting it again. I don't know what has happened. Seems like Zoom has, that section
Yeah,
has,
yeah, your image is frozen as well. So
yeah, seems like a technical glitch because my Zoom seems frozen. Let me try reconnecting. if that would solve. Joshua, can you see my screen now?
No, we can't see your screen. Maybe you need to drop off the call and join back.
Okay, sure. So let me just drop the call and then rejoin. I think you will automatically become the host of this presentation, right? Um, can you see my screen, Joshua, now? So Joshua, I have rejoined. Can you hear me now?
Your your image is still frozen. Can you put off your camera and put it back on?
Yeah, I've restarted Zoom. So
Okay, yeah. So we have to screens of your image now. Just try and share your screen now again. Let's see.
okay. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, we can see your screen now. Can you just zoom it in a bit?
okay, perfect. Yeah. Technical glitch. Sometimes these things happen. But yeah, we were covering about the tasks feature. Um, what I'm going to do is, now that we are already familiar with what the task is, I'll show you the website as to what that is. So this is the website where we want the Perplexity task feature to scrape the information from. So as you can see, any government release that would come up will appear here. So this is the official website. And because I'm writing an article related to all the key government changes, this is a very, very important website for me. So what I want Perplexity to do is go to this website. I've given the URL, obtain as much as information possible, follow all these instructions. And then the interesting part comes up is I'm going to configure it to run daily, every morning, let's say 9 a.m., so that I can get all the latest information already pre-prepared. Um, and then I can tweak that and then go on to publish an article with this. So you could see I put all the information here, and then I could add it to my space. Maybe let's say I'll add it to data analysis. Schedule, I'm going to set it as daily. Um, Time could be 10 a.m. in the morning. Expiration date I can set, maybe it'll only run till 30th. And then notifications also I can configure in-app, email, mobile, etc. So again, a lot of customization options, as I can see that the mode, quick research, deep research, labs, sources, web. So I'm just gonna keep it very, very, simple and straightforward. So I'll click on save, and that is it. So you would see the task has been created. And now you could see over here, this is the one that I just created. It is going to run daily at 10 a.m. in the morning, and I will get an email notification. I'll get a mobile notification, um, push notification that this task has been run. And then because I have specified the search results to go into this space, data analysis, it is going to go over there. So what I can do is let me modify the time to maybe now so we can see the information in real time. So maybe 1 17 or 116 when it should kick off. And yep. So yeah, this task will run around that time. So as this runs, let me configure one more task, and then we're going to see both of these tasks in real time. So the other task that I want to share with everyone is this is like, I'm an immigration consultant, and these are the website. This is the website of Department of Justice, Home Affairs, and Migration. And I want to track changes, because I run an immigration consultancy, and then I want to know when is the next citizenship ceremony that is going to take place, or any website issues are there or not. So everything is in my prompt. The URL is in my prompt, um, and this is what I'm going to accomplish with Perplexity now. So if we see now, similar to this, my prompt is visit this URL, very specific again, track and summarize today's changes versus last week, answer the following questions in one-liner, present it in a table format. When is the next citizenship ceremony going to happen? Any issues in immigration portal in the past week? If yes, specify what the issue is in one-liner, and then give me a 10-point bullet summary of what has happened. And then we have another thing, which is email the above to my email address, send directly, no confirmation needed. Now, this feature may not work for you because that is only available for enterprise plans. But if you subscribe to one level above the pro level, you can set this up. And then when this runs, you will get an automatically email about the information that has been fetched. But irrespective of whatever plan you are on, you would still get it as a notification as to the task has been run. So I'll show that in just a while. And you can see I've configured this to run daily at 5:15 p.m. Expiration date is there. This is active. Let's see how this actually runs. So if I go to my spaces to task, this is where I've configured. You could configure the one that I scheduled for 9 a.m. You could see this ran 4 hours ago. This also ran 4 hours ago, 20 hours ago, the one that runs at 5:15. So let's take a look at this. This is what it has presented. Uh, the question that I added in the prompt is, when is the next citizenship ceremony going to happen? And it says that 1st to 2nd December. So you could see we can verify the information that 1st December and 2nd December as well. So this is pretty correct. And then the bullet points are there. This is different from the regular prompt because the difference is I set this up once and now this is going to run daily. All I need to do is check the information and that's it. And this is very handy if someone wants to do a recurring research on similar spaces, similar topics every day. Let's take a look at this one as well, the one that I ran just now, about the professional business writer, which went to the government website. Then you would see it has prepared a few article titles, um, the summary. So it has basically followed everything that I specified into the prompt. Quick recap, takeaways, what to keep in mind. So now this use case is just about a content writer, but I could be a business owner who wants to track their competitors, or I could be someone who's wants to track, some specific product or some specific website, key government changes, or maybe, when my competitor release a product or when any new technology product would come up into a market and I want to create maybe some accessories or anything like that. So this is a very good use case. So I highly would advise everyone after the session to go and explore this feature. All you need to do is add the URL, be specific with these queries, and that's it. You will get all the information into your inbox daily. Um, so after the session, I will also share all these prompts with you to all the participants. So this is about the tasks feature of Perplexity, that it can run recurringly. We can set up recurring schedules that will run automatically, speed up our research work. And the other thing that we spoke about earlier is about Perplexity's use cases. It always cites the resources. So if you see in the summary, I have this paragraph. Then if I go here, this is the resource. This is the So I can always come back here and then see where the information was fetched from. So maybe if I go to the other one, this one, and then yeah, you can see I'm headed back to the same website, because that is one of the advantages of Perplexity is it always cites the resources, it always gives citations. So one can always fact check and verify the information. So this is about the second use case. Now we will cover up our final use case. Um, for that, I will again share the Word document and some of the examples that I have. So again, as I highlighted that this is a fictional company, ABC Fresh Foods Limited. What we have is we have received some requests for proposal from multiple vendors. Now we are going to use Perplexity to evaluate each vendor on multiple benchmarks specific to our business use case. And it is not fetching information from web, but rather because I connected my Google Drive, it is going to fetch the information from there. So if you see in my Google Drive, I have added these vendor documents, and again, all these are fictional companies. Um, so I have about 6 different vendor proposals, and I'll just open up one of these just so everyone can get an understanding of what information really is. You could see the vendor overview, the products, their quality control, certifications, auditing standards, supply chain, and so much all the information. But again, we don't have that much time, which is why we are using Perplexity to evaluate all that information for all the 6 vendors. So you can see this is a very tedious task, very manual and resource-intensive task, which can take up to weeks. With Perplexity, we are going to accomplish that in just a few minutes. So I will again go to Perplexity, and you could see up here what I'm going to do is I'll share a prompt which I have already prepared. So again, Joshua, if you could confirm that if my screen is visible, that would be amazing.
We can't see your screen yet.
Okay, let's try it again. Is it visible now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. So you can see again the fictional company name, ABC Fresh Foods Limited. These are the required deliverables. We have gone very specific with what we need. We need an executive summary. We need a pros and cons list. We need a strategic assessment based on these parameters. Fairness in farmer compensation, Irish ownership, local economic support, innovation and potential added value. So all these things will be factored in whenever we are going to um, evaluate all the 6 vendors, which are whose documents are into our Google Drive. Then we have a specific document that is our company specific. That includes our strategy, what the company size is, our requirements, the unique situation that our business is in. So Perplexity is going to focus on this prompt, requirements, details, and specifications of my business, and obviously the source data that I'm going to feed that, which is the vendor RFPs, request for proposals. And then based on that, it is going to give me an end-to-end evaluation as to which vendor could be a best fit for my business. So I have copied this, and what I'm going to do is share another document, which is my company specific. That'll include some of the information related to my business. I hope everyone can see this. So you can see this is the vendor requirement document, fictional company name, uh, for just the webinar, purpose, for the example purpose. Let's consider this is our company. And I'm the one, who has listed all that information here. We have 87 employees. That's our annual turnover. Company was founded in 2012, headquarters in Cork. All that information, what we require, leafy greens, root vegetables, etc., etc. Our delivery, geographic scope, hygiene standards, etc., etc. So we need to find a vendor that perfectly aligns with what our requirements are, that perfectly aligns with what our strategic scenario is. So we have submission deadlines, references, sustainability credentials, etc., etc. So what I'm going to do with this use case is I am going to put this document into Perplexity along with the RFPs that are in my Google Drive. So again, sharing up my screen. As everyone can see, I have added this prompt. And what I'm going to do is pick up the source section over here, then enable Google Drive. Think. Yeah, I've added the prompt. Now the company profile file is I'm going to attach locally. And the RFPs from vendors, I'm going to attach via the sources. I think the file has not been properly uploaded. So again, I'll add this prompt. Yeah. Let's add the files first. So if you see, I went to Google Drive and I'll zoom in a bit. Yeah. I went to add files, then Google Drive, a small window will appear. Then I need to select my Google Drive folder, vendor documents, and you can see the status as syncing. So it'll take a couple of seconds to read all the files from a Google Drive folder. And then you can see this is ready. Now the next file that I can add is from my local source. So as you can see, two files have been uploaded. One is the vendor requirements doc that includes all the company information and requirements from ABC Fresh Foods, which is hypothetically my company. And then we have the vendor documents. So all the vendors have gone and submitted their proposals are included into a Google Drive. Perplexity is going to do is follow the prompt. It'll refer to this local file and it'll also refer to the documents that are in Google Drive. So as you can see, a multi-connector flow is there. Then we'll see that into action. Now that we have added all the files, and if I want, I can add links as well. But again, these are all the fictional companies. But if, for a real world scenario, I could add the website of all these official vendors. So some information could be fetched from there as well in real time. So I'll cross this section and you can see searching 7 sources and I'll paste this. And that is it. So now everything has been configured. What I'm going to do is hit enter and let Perplexity do the analysis and comparison. This may take a few minutes because we have lots and lots of information. And a lot of times, Perplexity can also display that 4 minutes remaining, 3 minutes remaining. It can display how much time it can typically take to do a particular task. But in this case, it has been pretty quick. As you can see, 4 steps has been completed. We have requested a comprehensive vendor evaluation and you can see vendor comparison table and then an executive summary have appeared up pretty quickly. So this was just a couple of seconds. I think the evaluation has happened. But what if I want to use something else? What if I want to use the other feature, which is, again, everything is same, but instead of quick research, I will click on this lab feature because I want to create graphs, charts, PDFs, documents, presentation, so much more. Now, if I click on enter, then it is going to take some time. So as you can see, now it says working 10 minutes remaining, which means it's thoroughly evaluating everything because it is not just tasked with fetching information, but also tasked to present information in a particular format. So it can prepare charts, graphs, presentations, documents, so much of other information as well. So now it says about 5 minutes are remaining. Again, 4 minutes are remaining. So we'll give it a few minutes so that it runs. If it takes any longer, I already have a similar use case prepared. Then I can go back to my spaces and then we can see the exact results that it brings. So at the moment, we can see if I zoom in, reviewing sources two, which is the vendor documents, evaluating additional vendor profiles, examining their ownership certifications. So just like any other resource, any other expert would have worked, Perplexity is working the same way. And then I have a notification feature enabled. Once this task is complete, I'll most likely get a notification on my email. So if I open up my email, um, you would see that Perplexity can email something like this. So once that result appears up, I'll give it another prompt to email that to me, and then we can see that all the information that we have fetched can also be emailed using the Gmail connector that we have already set up in the beginning. So we can see again, it is taking 5 minutes, preparing a CSV table, using Python to do some analysis, etc., etc. So to save everyone's time, what I will do is while this runs, I'll go back to the other use case that I've already prepared, which is the same. I gave the same prompt because sometimes it can take 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the resources available in Perplexity's environment. We go to tasks and then we can see here that this is how it typically prepares everything with the labs feature. So this is what we used earlier. Now let's see if our lab feature has been completed or not. So I think it is still running. So again, let's give it a couple of more minutes, maybe 2 more minutes it'll take. And then that will be ready. So if I refresh again, so if you see, this is the um, prompt that I used earlier for the same use case because the one that we just run is taking a couple of more minutes. So if I open this up and if I maximize this, you will see what Perplexity has prepared. It has prepared a vendor comparison table. Joshua, can you confirm if this is something that is clearly visible? Because to me, it's still a bit blurry.
Yeah, if you can zoom it a bit in, can
How
you
about,
zoom it? Yeah, it's all right now.
yeah, I think still a bit blurry. So, yeah. So, we again don't need to go into, the finer details because this is just an example. But what we really want to see is the instructions that I gave to Perplexity is prepare an executive summary, prepare a vendor comparison table on multiple benchmarks. And Perplexity has exactly followed that. It has used the connector pretty well from my Google Drive, from my local drive, combined all the information and gives a very nice synthesized response. So we could see here the vendor, the quality standards, logistics capabilities, certifications, pricing structure, Irish ownership, yes, no, scalability, supply chain transparency, pros and cons by vendor. We have the scoring summary, we have the recommendations as well. So if we see another diagram, this is another chart that I have for each vendor based on different benchmarks. So if you see quality standards, logistics capabilities, pricing structure, sustainability practice, and so much so information is there. I have a CSV table as well, pros and cons. I have a chart as well. You could see strategic assessment as to see which vendor ranks where in multiple benchmarks. So in terms of cost effectiveness, we have this supply risk, sustainability, farmer comparison, Irish owner, innovation, etc., etc. So you could see that Perplexity has done a great job reading all these files, evaluating each vendor, following our prompts pretty well. And let me give it one more task, which is seeing if it can email me a summary of that as well or not. So I'll go to my chat section again and email this to, and then I'll enter my email. That's it. But email a summary of the above to my email. And then I'm going to hit enter because I have already connected my Gmail with Perplexity. So it should be able to access my email. And because I'm sending the email to myself, so that should appear up in my inbox from myself only. So we can see it is going to take some time because I've asked this to prepare a summary of everything that has been listed. So it will prepare the summary and then it is going to email that to me. So let's give it a couple of more seconds. And yeah, perfect. So you can see that it hasn't directly emailed that to me. It is still asking for a confirmation that whether everything looks right or not. And I think this is a great feature because we should never trust these large language models completely because they can make mistakes. So it has given me a draft, and what I want is, maybe some of the things were missing. So I'll just add my name and best regards. So I've just done some minor changes and then I'm going to click on send. And again, I have a feature of refine email as well if I want to further refine this email or not. But for now, we'll just stick to this. It has already done a great job. And I'll click on send. So it's done and says email has been sent. So if I go to my inbox, you could see that I've just received an email um, at 1:38 p.m. with everything that has been there. So we have a summary of vendor evaluation project for ABC Foods. We have the project summary, key findings and recommendations, presentation materials, bullet points. Again, it hasn't sent any attachments. Why? Because I didn't ask it so. If I would have, it probably would have attached those files and included that in the email. So you can see what's included regarding Jira as well, because I've added my Jira connector as well. Files and assets that are ready for use. So all materials are ready for executive presentation, stakeholder communication, and project management and executions. So we forgot to modify this line. If you see, let me know if you need to make any adjustments or additional analysis, which is where, the good practice comes up is we always need to trust in the information, but we need to verify whether it is correct or not. So, but again, this was a very good example. Now I'll go back to a presentation slides in just a couple of seconds. And Joshua, can you confirm if my screen is up?
Yeah, it's up.
Okay, perfect. So far we have covered up three use cases. First is obviously getting familiarized with Perplexity. Second is we saw the tasks feature where we covered up two sub use cases. One is tracking the immigration website, and second is being a content writer and then using Perplexity task feature to schedule content writing based on multiple parameters to fetch all the related information from a government's website. And then third, the end-to-end evaluation that we just saw, which was quite a lengthy one because we had multiple vendors, so much of information, so much of requirements. But this task would have typically taken 2 to 3 weeks if that was executed in a typical business environment. But here we were able to accomplish that in just a couple of minutes. So with that, we have covered up the uh, all the three demos, and I would like to share a few more information, few important considerations before we wrap up everything. These few important considerations that'll help you to get the most out of Perplexity and use it responsibly. So again, I'm not going to read all the information, but for everyone understanding, you can pause and then take a screenshot and then read it on. But just to quickly summarize everything, real-time data, Perplexity searches the web in real time. So we know that the answers reflect current information at the moment, but there's a side to that as well, that we might be expecting something on the website, but that may have changed. And because Perplexity fetches that information in real time, we might be surprised sometimes to see, okay, that something has been changed. And we can only verify that once we verify all the sources to go to the website and see, okay, that has actually been changed. So these surprises can come up time to time. Um, and Perplexity, the other thing is it's not a replacement for expert. For legal, medical, or financial decisions, it is always good to consult qualified professionals. Um, in my opinion, what I see is this is more like a research tool, but not a final authority. So I could command Perplexity to send an email, but I have to keep myself in the check. There should always be a human in the loop, because we should not give final authority to Perplexity to do everything because it can make mistakes. It may miss some information, or it can misrepresent facts. So the third is file upload privacy. So only upload documents that we are comfortable sharing. So in this case, we all used fictional data, Google Drive, but we should always be careful as to whenever we are adding connectors and the information we are comfortable sharing, and the information, the proprietary information that it belongs to, they should also be comfortable sharing that. And we need to be aware of data privacy policies. We anyway were using Perplexity Enterprise plan, so the data is anyway not used to train the models. But if you are on a regular plan as well, you can configure that as well to go to your settings. The other important aspect is model variations. So because Perplexity offers different models, the responses could also be different. So if I use GPT 5.1 versus Claude for the same prompt, the response could be different. It could be totally different. That can very much happen. So we need to choose the model that fits our task best. And then lastly, another important one, that could be basic search is fast that we have seen. Pro search, deep research can take a couple of minutes. And then if we use the labs feature, that is very much in depth. That takes some. So we need to be mindful of what we want. So if we need quick information, we'll use the quick search feature. But if we want some extensive results, we'll probably go for the deep research or the labs feature. So the other thing that I would highly recommend is everyone to avoid these common mistakes, which is when you start using Perplexity, obviously you need to be mindful of, how you can get the best of this, because this is different from ChatGPT. And for all the users who might be using ChatGPT, who want to switch to Perplexity, need to keep these things in mind. So don't ask too vague information, be specific. And I think that applies to every other LLM tool that we use. Vague questions will definitely yield vague answers. So the other is we should not skip source verifications, even though we think that the results are appealing, they seem correct. We should always just, it just hardly takes a couple of seconds, so we can click and then verify the information. So always it is a good practice to click and check citations, especially for critical information, because we are doing deep research on some topic. So that's where I think the trust is built. And the other thing is not relying on single answer. Always we can ask follow-up questions to Perplexity. We can always cross question it. So if a particular response comes up, I could always type in, why this response, why did you take on these factors? Why this evaluation criteria? Why um, you think this? And then Perplexity will also give, cross answers. So we can explore different angles. And the depth of information, in my opinion, comes from conversation, not the response. So the more in-depth conversation that we can have in an LLM, that's where, we can have much more important information we can yield. And then another important is not ignoring the focus feature. So I think we can use it to qualify, filter our results by source type. It's a powerful way to refine what we get back. So we can always control our resources. If I'm asking a very general query and I'm ticking all the options to use web, academic, social sources, all the connectors, there's a very high chance that I might not get what I was looking for, because the LLM might hallucinate, because I've given so much information and I'm that is irrelevant, and I'm asking about a very niche topic. So we should be mindful of this as well. Lastly, again, a very important one, which is we should not expect instant expert analysis. So some tasks require time. For complex work, we always use the deep research method. Personally use it very often, and it takes a few minutes, but it's definitely worth it. So that is what we should be taking care of. And some key takeaways from today's session. And I can see we are just over time 10 more minutes because we had some technical glitch. So we'll wrap up this again in the next 10 minutes. Just a Q&A session is remaining for anyone who has questions. But yeah, these are the key takeaways which we need to always consider. What we have learned from the session so far is with Perplexity, we get real-time answers. With citations, we get information that is pretty much appealing, but trust but verify is very, very important. We trust the information, but we always need to verify whether it's correct or not. Then the other aspect is the feature of multimodal flexibility, switching between models and different toggle modes, organized research, quick, deep research, and then labs as well. Time efficiency, again, a factor with any LLM that we use. It saves time. It um, gives us a lot of time back, so we are more productive when using this. And then last but not the least, data privacy and security. Should always be mindful of what sources are we using, what information we are feeding, and always keeping a check about data privacy and security standards. So with that, I think the session is concluded, and I'll just open up the panel for some Q&A. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat. Myself or Joshua will be happy to answer that. Or if there is a question about specific session, we can also cover up that as well.
So Rich, someone has a question for you in the chat, and so from Richard, he says, "Thank you so much for the excellent demonstration on Perplexity," and he's asking, "Has your team seen any reward feedback on Comet accuracy when it's taxed with fully custom in-house web apps, unique user interface, no public training data?" So he's very curious about how it performs in those never seen before environments.
Sorry, in one of those parameters, Joshua?
Yeah, so he said, has anyone in the team seen any reward feedback on Comet accuracy? So personally, I haven't. I'm not sure if you have, Rish.
Yeah. So the feedback in terms of the accuracy, uh, I have been using Perplexity from like I think ever since it came up, and I've seen the tool evolving very much.
Yeah.
Earlier I also used to see some mistakes. Some information was factually incorrect, but over time that I've used it, there is like an intuition that you build that if I'm searching somewhere from these sources, it fetches the information pretty well, and I trust the
Yeah.
LLM I used. But I generally, this is my sanity, I always do checks or not. Some other things to test the accuracy, what I follow is, if I am doing some really critical work, I would run the same query into multiple LLMs. So I will use Claude, GPT, and other models as well, and I'll compare the outputs of each one of them. So the output of GPT 5.1 will be evaluated by Claude and vice versa as well. So once I'm satisfied, then I'll go to the next step, which is me proofreading all the information and seeing um, whether the information is correct or not. So some of the checks could be added in prompting. Some of them, it's your final evaluation, and it's more of a skill. The more you use, the more you kind of tend to learn. But evaluation is very, very important. Uh, some of the areas where it can present false results, especially when it comes to numbers. So if I give these tools too complex of a task where it needs to read the information, analyze the information, do some math operations as well, to need to do some presentation as well, prepare bullet points. So if you see, one is the instructions that are similar in nature: prepare bullet points, prepare a summary, prepare a key takeaway. They are very similar in nature. But if I give do all these three, but then from the data that you see in PDF, give me a statistical analysis as well. Third could be prepare a presentation, email that as well. Then I think a lot of times there is a very high tendency that it can make some mistakes, because these models tend to become smarter and smarter with time. So I think we probably are not there quite yet, but um, there have been significant improvements so far. So I hope that answers the question. Any other question, Joshua? From
Okay, so Richard has a follow-up question, but just before I mention that, so I just put up the poll now to get your feedback on the webinar in order to enable us improve on our subsequent webinars. So would appreciate if you could fill in the poll. So Richard's follow-up question is, so for example, if a company creates an in-house software, can Perplexity comment browser navigate that environment? So it's saying that would Perplexity Comet be able to navigate that environment? I'm not so sure about that. But in ChatGPT, in the last two webinars, I demonstrated the agentic AI mode on ChatGPT. So let's say if the software is available on the cloud, then the agent mode on ChatGPT would be able to navigate into that in-house software if it's available on the cloud, but then you would need the human to take over to impute the username and the password of the person who owns the account on the in-house software. So with Perplexity Comet, it's not necessarily an agent that will be able to, on its own open up the in-house software real time. But with the agent mode on ChatGPT, it would initiate its own desktop real time for you to see. Then you will see it navigating into the in-house software if it's available on the cloud. And then when it's time for you to impute your username and password, it asks you to take over. And then after imputing it, you can pass the action onto it again to take over and do whatever you want it to do on the in-house software. I don't know if that answers your question, Richard.
Yeah, I think to Richard's question, it's more, I think, around the comment. Um, I think it's definitely a trial, Richard. If it's a web application or a website, uh, I'm not sure if it is a standalone software, then you can use Comet's agentic feature. But if it's on a website, then it's definitely a try that you can use Comets. I've used Comets as I've recently started using it. I think just a month or 2 months back, ever since this came up. It can do evaluation, it can give feedback, uh, but this is not the intended feature of that is. So it starts more with fetching the information, give you what's on the screen, etc., etc. But I think it can be used to give feedback if you have a specific product on your website or not. So, but in terms of evaluation accuracy, that is still like the gray area. I still cannot speak to that, but it'll definitely give you results, that I'm pretty sure. So any evaluation that you want to do with your website or product or service that's on your website can definitely go and then give you feedback. um so yeah, I hope that helps.
Yes, that'll be all with the questions that we have.
Okay. And yeah, thank you everyone for filling up the poll as well. And I think more people are still filling up the poll. And lastly, uh, for everyone, thank you. It was an absolute pleasure hosting the session. For all the latest news and upcoming events or webinars, please stay tuned to with our LinkedIn. You can scan the QR code that you see on your screen, and then that'll take you to our LinkedIn page. Any other upcoming webinars that will be there, you could um, um, you will be able to see when to join. We generally host a webinar once a month. So please follow us on LinkedIn. And if you're an SME or have a specific use case to discuss, uh, please feel free to reach out to us at cedar_edih@ucd.ie. We have a team of excellent industry experts to help you with your AI and digital transformation journey. So once again, thank you everyone for joining in. It was an absolute pleasure hosting the session. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. See you next time. Thank you, Rish.
Thanks, Joshua.